Well, guess what? It is evening again. This is July 3rd, and we live by a racetrack that does fireworks on July 3rd after the races. And so there's a park nearby that kind of overlooks that area. And so everybody around our city gets together at this park and watches those fireworks. And that's what we did today, aside from the fact that I was working all day and I had to cook for tomorrow for 4th of July event that's happening at our church. So this is vlog number 16. And what have I got for you today is a story about how I moved to Seattle for 1 month when I was about 19. Up until that point, I lived at my parents' house, and I really wanted to get out there and be on my own. And like I told you in some of my previous videos, that I think it was in the very first video of about how I'm a web designer, web developer, and that I come from a graphic design background, or my, how should I say this? My interests are in graphic design. That's where it all began. And so at 19, I was out of school, out of high school, and I really wanted to get into this Art Institute of Seattle that my teacher was telling me about in high school. And so I applied, and I applied for financial aid because I obviously did not have the money to go to this school. And they gave me financial aid, and they accepted me to the school. And so I was excited, and I was going to the Art Institute of Seattle. So I got my stuff together, and so my mom really didn't want me to go, and I was not a good son, not listening to my mom. Yes, I was 19, but still, my mom really didn't want me to go, and I was like, no, I'm going. And so I took off. I went over there. I drove. I have a hard time remembering what exactly I drove down there, because I know I had a messed up 1988 Nissan Maxima that was missing the front end, and I believe I had the headlights taped on, and they were not from a Nissan Maxima, they were from something else, probably from like those square lights you can buy at Napa. So anyway, I got those hooked up. I taped them on with some electrical tape, and literally there was no front to this car. No grille, no headlights, no bumper. And then I just, slapped on those square lights on there. Other than that, the car was great. So I drove it to Seattle. I literally don't remember how I got there, because that car had no plates. It was not registered, and I think I just drove it just like that. That was another reason why my mom didn't want me to go. Anyway, so I got there. I did have the title to the car, so I took it to one of the dealers over there and traded it in for a some kind of a Toyota Corolla, an older version, even than that, maybe 1984, something like that. Um, and so I have this car that's a lot better shape. It's drivable. And I went to I had an appointment with the counselor at the school. So I went over there and I met with the counselor. And she was asking me all these questions about everything. And then she finally got to the money question. And she's like, so I see that you have a financial aid. And I'm like, yes, I do. And she's like, so how are you planning to pay the rest of the $25,000? And this is when I died. I was like, what? I thought financial aid means that I go to school for free. But no, that's not how it works apparently. So I was in shock and very disappointed, and I did not know what to do. Um, Meanwhile, I when I got to Seattle, I had a friend living there. He was living at home with his parents, and so I asked him if I could stay in their house while I'm there, while I get settled down. And yeah, of course, they allowed me to stay in their house. I was sleeping on their couch in the living room. And so I started looking for a job. And um, the first job I applied for was a Ford dealership in Issaquah, Washington. It's like maybe an hour or so. I think an hour or so east of Seattle. And so I went over there and started working, and they had me fill out all the paperwork. And I don't know when exactly I realized this, that my wallet was gone. And I couldn't figure out where I left it, and I did not have my driver license with me. And so when I was filling out all the paperwork, they needed my driver license, and I couldn't give it to them. So I worked there for about 10 days, and they kept hassling me about my driver license. And they basically told me, if you can't produce an ID by the end of the week, we cannot continue to employ you. And so obviously I couldn't, because I had no idea where it went. And so they fired me, or they told me I couldn't work there anymore. So I started looking for another job, and I found a job at a glass glazing factory in Seattle. I think it was just north of Seattle. It was some sort of industrial place that they took thick glass, probably like half-inch glass, and laminated it with another half-inch glass. And sometimes they made double laminated glass, sometimes triple. So it was like various fatness of glasses. They were humongous glass pieces. So my job was to create or build crates that this glass stuff goes into for shipping. This job was graveyard shift, so I started at like 11 in the evening and finished at 7 or 8 in the morning, or something like that. And one thing I remember that was pretty cool at this job was having lunch at like 2 in the morning. That was weird, but I remember that. It was nice. Um, so, because I was working at night, I slept during the day, and I slept at these people's house on their living room couch, which was very inconvenient for them because I slept during the day, and that was horrible. I felt really bad, but I had nothing I could do. I literally slept in my car a couple of nights just to give them a break. Um, so it was horrible experience. The whole month I was there was stressful, and I couldn't figure out why this is turning out so stupidly. But while I was in Seattle, I really fell in love with the city. When I say the city, I mean like the humongous buildings of downtown Seattle, the unending river of people everywhere. Like, I really, really loved that experience, and my dream was to someday have a condo downtown overlooking um, the bay, the Puget Sound or whatever it's called, that bay area in Seattle. Um, yeah, lots of horrible memories from there, but also lots of really, really good memories from just being there in Seattle. Anyway, so being there for a month and stressing out over, where am I gonna live, where am I gonna work, and where in the world did my driver license go, I decided that, you know what, I had enough. I cannot continue like this. I need to go home and regroup. So when I made that decision to go home, literally that same day, I got a call from the college, from uh, Art Institute of Seattle, from the counselor lady. And she told me, hey, we found your wallet. How convenient. Just when I made a decision to go home, uh, I guarantee you my mom was praying about me so I would come home. And that is why everything turned out the way it did, because I did not listen to wise words from my mother, but I went and did my own thing without having a plan, without anything. I just went. Um, anyway, so I returned home. Um, when I came home, I didn't have a job, I didn't have money, and I needed to make payments on that car that I bought. And I basically decided that I'm going to go ahead and give up the car because I didn't want to continue making payments for it, and I didn't even know what I was going to be doing job-wise. So I called the dealership in Seattle and I told them I want to return the car. And well, I believe this was actually uh, after I couldn't make a payment, they told me that they're going to repo the car. But that would cost me even more because they're going to send me into collections for them having to repo it. And so I told them basically that I will drive the car to them so they don't have to repo it away from Spokane, which is like 300 miles away. So I told them I'll drive it to them, but I said I don't have any money to come back. I literally had zero money. So they told me, bring the car, and they said they're going to give me a Greyhound bus ticket to go home. So they literally bought me a ticket so I can drive, or so I can get back home. Yeah. And then this is when my plethora of various jobs began. I came home, and I'm going to do a separate video about all the jobs that I've had in my young years. And there's a lot, and they're all different and interesting. Well, some of them are interesting. I think that's it. That's all I got for today. I wonder if any of you had any kind of similar experiences of basically leaving your parents' house without a plan, just heading out somewhere, hoping for things to turn out good, and things might have not turned out good. So tell me in the comments if you have a story like that. And also like the video, please. And that's it. I'm going to, tomorrow is 4th of July. We have a lot of things going on, but I am going to make a video. I will find time. I will make it before midnight so it counts. Alright guys, thank you for watching. Have a good night. Have a good 4th. If I don't see you before the 4th is over. Okay, bye bye. Good night.